What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of showmefootball.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And the 2025 NFL trade deadline has now come and gone for the Chiefs, and they did absolutely nothing to improve the roster. I'm going to be reacting to all that happened today, all that and more coming right after this. You're not going to want to miss it. Ladies and gentlemen of the Chiefs Kingdom, welcome back into another video here on the Show Me Football YouTube channel. Before we get into all the news, my breakdown of the Kansas City Chiefs inactivity of the trade deadline, I do kindly ask you all to please like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Make sure you go ahead and hit that notification bell as well for future Chiefs content. But without further ado, let's get into all that happened today at the trade deadline for the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, that's it. That's all that happened at the trade deadline for the Kansas City Chiefs. But no, in all seriousness, guys, the Chiefs are standing pat at the trade deadline after sitting 5-4 at the bye week and having an opportunity to make changes to this roster. The Chiefs have decided that they are going to do nothing. They make no trades. And personally, I'm extremely disappointed by this because you're 5-4 at the trade deadline. There was more aggression last year when this team finished 15-2 in the regular season. And I know everyone says, this Chiefs team this year is better than last year's, despite the difference in record. And while I think I agree with that, I mean, at what point are we sure they're not better? Like, at what point are the Kansas City Chiefs just not a very good team? Because you can make the argument that the Kansas City Chiefs have the worst position group in the NFL at multiple spots on this team. I'm not so sure you can say that about any position group last year. Maybe running back, you could say that about them last year as well. That one's definitely in the discussion. But I just think, why such a lack of aggression this year? Last year, this team, they went out, they got DeAndre Hopkins. They went out, they got Joshua Uche. You could argue that maybe because of the way those moves worked out, that it gave the Chiefs cold feet heading into this trade deadline. And I guess I somewhat understand, but I don't think that means you should stop taking swings. Just like I don't think missing on Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the NFL draft several years ago means you should stop swinging at the running back position, which is pretty much what the Chiefs have done since then. But this team has major issues. You cannot get to the quarterback. This team has zero running game, or at least their running game is not a threat to defenses. If you go and watch the tape from the Buffalo Bills game, they had no fear of the Chiefs running game. All the motions they ran, all of the things they tried to run with Kareem Hunt in the backfield, like, the Bills were not falling for it. They dropped their guys back into coverage. They only lined up with 3 or 4 on the defensive line at a given time. Like, they did not care. There was no threat of the running game for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I mean, people will point out that this team in the past, they've started off rough and then they end up making a deep playoff run, going to the Super Bowl. Like 2021, when this team started 3-4, they ended up figuring things out. They got better. They ended up getting to the AFC Championship game. But what you can't ignore is that even in years like 2021, this team still made a move to address a major weakness. The defensive line was a huge issue during that 2021 season. What do the Kansas City Chiefs do? They go out and get Melvin Ingram, who was a fantastic addition for the Kansas City Chiefs during that season. But there were no moves made this year. There was no move to shore up a weakness on this team. And I just think that was a mistake. I think that's a huge mistake by Brett Veach and this front office, because I don't think the answers are on this roster. Like, on the defensive line, there's not really a young player that you can point to as having potential for a huge breakout in the second half. I just don't see it with Ashton Gelati. I think he's mostly an effort, energy player, but like, he's not going to be overwhelming to any offensive game plan. Like, he's just a body out there. That's the problem with the Chiefs defensive line. They just have a bunch of bodies out there. The running back room, like, there's no one in there that's going to fix this. I think the Brashard Smith ship has sailed, to be quite honest. They're giving freaking Clyde Edwards-Helaire in 2025 more meaningful carries than Brashard Smith at this point. That was their choice. That is what they have chosen to do. Elijah Mitchell continues to be a healthy scratch. We'll get to that. But the other thing is a lot of teams around you today got better. You know, the Indianapolis Colts, they see an opportunity to go out and win a Super Bowl this year. They trade for Sauce Gardner of the New York Jets, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. The Baltimore Ravens, who are, 2-5, they still went out and they made a move to get better. They got Draymond Jones from the Tennessee Titans, who I think would have been perfect for the Kansas City Chiefs. They only gave up a 5th-round pick to get him. He has 4.5 sacks in the last 4 games. We could use a guy like that. He would have been a massive upgrade over what you had. But the big name that was out there that a lot of Chiefs fans wanted to see this team trade for was Breece Hall, who actually ended up requesting a trade following the trades of his teammates, Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. The Jets were having a fire sale. Connor J. Hughes, who covers the New York Jets, reported that the Kansas City Chiefs offered a 4th-round pick for Breece Hall, but the Jets wanted a 3rd. Now, how true is this? We don't really know at this time. But if it is true that the Jets wanted a 3rd-round pick and the Chiefs wouldn't budge off giving just a 4th-round pick, that's a mistake, and that pisses me off. Because Breece Hall is someone that would take this offense to the next level. I said immediately after the Washington Commanders game, after the offense had looked really good for the 2nd straight week, I said, it's great, but there's going to be a game where you're not going to be able to throw the ball. It's going to be a struggle, and you need someone that takes pressure off Patrick Mahomes in the passing game. It only took 1 week. The Buffalo Bills had it figured out. They dropped their guys back into coverage. They rushed 4. Mahomes and Andy Reid could not figure it out. Shades of the Super Bowl. And that is a fear I have going forward because you still have not done anything about the running back position. Breece Hall would have been fantastic. And people are going to say, the 3rd-round pick was too steep for Breece Hall. I wouldn't have given it up. I agree with the Chiefs for not trading a 3rd-round pick for Breece Hall. Why? What Breece Hall does for this offense is worth way more than the possibility of whatever that 3rd-round pick is. Like, there's so much obsession about keeping the window open and the long-term view. I understand it. I do. I'm not saying I want the Chiefs to mortgage the entire future. Trading 1 3rd-round pick is not mortgaging the future. You can still build this team for the future while contending right now, while you have an opportunity in front of you to win a Super Bowl in a weak, wide-open AFC. And the Chiefs decided not to do that because they're too damn stubborn to give up the 3rd-round draft pick. I mean, let's go over a list of Brett Veach's 3rd-round draft picks. This is the history of Brett Veach 3rd-round draft picks. Derek Nottie, Dorian O'Daniel, Colin Saunders, Lucas Niang, Leo Chenal, Wanye Morris, Ashton Gelati. The overwhelming odds are that whatever that 3rd-round pick ends up being is not as valuable as having Breece Hall on this offense for the rest of the season, maximizing a year of number 15 being on this team, trying to go for a Super Bowl. I just don't get it, man. I don't get it. I don't give a shit about the draft pick. Do something. Fix this stuff that is holding this team back at the moment. The reason that they're 5-4. I just don't get it, man. And I think, like I said, you have a chance to win right now. I would much rather take the chance of trading for Breece Hall and seeing where that ends up than the possibility of drafting another Wanye Morris or Ashton Gelati. I just would have. Like I said, you have a chance to win now. And I think people forget that a lot of the times. They say this is still a contending team, but it's like, are you truly trying to win a championship this year? Because with the Chiefs standing pat at the deadline today, I question, are you really trying to win a championship this year? People will say, Josh, you're crazy. Of course they're trying to win a championship. But like, really? Honestly? Because this is a team that is giving players like Derek Nottie and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Mike Pennell like truly meaningful snaps in the year of 2025. And I just don't think you can see yourself as a serious Super Bowl contender when you're trotting out players like that. Massive, massive holes on your roster that you refuse to do nothing about because, as Carrington Harrison said yesterday on 96.5 The Fan, and like I talked about in my latest rant video, the Chiefs opt for comfortability and familiarity over simply a better player, over an upgrade. It's happened so many times before. Just like when the Kansas City Chiefs had J.K. Dobbins in the building 2 off seasons ago, and said no thanks, and they signed Clyde Edwards-Helaire instead, who they ended up cutting later that season. Meanwhile, J.K. Dobbins had a bounce-back season for the Los Angeles Chargers with the Los Angeles Chargers, only ended up signing for a few $1,000,000. He's a free agent again this year. You pass on him once again. He goes to the Denver Broncos as their number one running back, looks really freaking good, and you're still stuck with Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. It just makes no sense why this team refuses to make those types of moves that put you over the top, that give you a better roster than your opponent so you can stack up against a team like the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl and not get your ass kicked. So is this team truly trying to win a Super Bowl this year? Or are they just trying to be a really good team for as long as possible? Man, you have Patrick Mahomes. The goal is to win a Super Bowl. You're not compromising anything in the future by trying to make a couple moves to go for it this year, to maximize yet another year of the prime of Patrick Mahomes. So that's what's really frustrating to me. And you look at this defensive line. That was the other big area they needed to target this trade deadline if it wasn't going to be a running back, if it wasn't going to Breece Hall. Okay, some of you probably say, we don't need Breece Hall. We need defensive line. And look, you can argue that defensive line was the more important need. They needed both, but if it was one of the two, then yeah, sure, go after defensive line. I don't understand how you do nothing on the defensive line. I really do not understand how you have done absolutely nothing. When you watch the way Chris Jones has struggled this year, he's not the player that he has been the past couple of years. He's tired. He's exhausted. He has no help. You watch Omar Norman-Lott, who was one of the few silver linings to this defensive line, go down for the season with a torn ACL. You watch George Karlaftis fail to live up to the contract you gave him in the offseason, and you do nothing at the trade deadline. Why? When guys like Draymond Jones are out there to trade for, there were moves to be made, and there were moves to be made that didn't get made. Even an Arden Key would have been a great addition to this defensive line. Jalen Phillips was the guy that I really wanted. And everyone's favorite GM, like I said, Howie Roseman, he went out and got him. And I'm going to touch on that here in a second as well. Odafe Owe, that one was made a little bit before the trade deadline, but the Baltimore Ravens basically gave him away. He goes to the Los Angeles Chargers where he has 4 sacks in the last 4 games. That's the type of guy you need on this defensive line, the spark plug, the guy with juice off the edge to give you quick pressures. The Chiefs didn't get that, and I think it's going to get them killed in January. I genuinely cannot be – I'll be upset, but I'm not going to feel bad at this point for Brett Veach, for the Kansas City Chiefs, if they end up falling short in January, because they refused to address the needs, because they seriously thought that Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Derek Nottie and Mike Pennell were the moves that needed to be made to fix the issues. It's just a joke. It's a joke, and I'm not going to feel bad when it ends up blowing up in their face. Now, I said I wanted to touch a little bit more on the Brett Veach versus Howie Roseman aggressiveness. And again, I know people are going to roll their eyes. I already know it's coming, but I've compared these two for a long time, and I've said Howie Roseman, quite frankly, is a better general manager than Brett Veach. And if you gave Chiefs fans truth serum and asked them, which general manager would you rather have to pair with Patrick Mahomes in this current Chiefs dynasty, I think they would say Howie Roseman, most of them, if you gave them truth serum, because Howie Roseman, look, man, he's aggressive. We've been told for years that Brett Veach is this aggressive riverboat gambler. He's going to make the move. If he sees a weakness, he's going to attack it. That really has not been the case. He's done a few overhaul jobs in the offseason to fix positions that were a weakness the season prior, but he just doesn't really have the aggression that Howie Roseman does. For example, to double down on a position where, you were already actually probably okay, even if you didn't make a move, but Howie Roseman's going to go out and make another move anyway, just to, double down and solidify the depth there. And the first move that comes to mind when I say that is when they traded for Tank Bigsby of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, he's their third running back. They already have Saquon Barkley. They already had the Will Shipley kid who they drafted. Obviously, he's hurt right now, and that was the main reason for the Bigsby trade. But you have A.J. Dillon, who is a very solid number 2 back and, gives you a lot of what Saquon Barkley can give you. And it's like, well, Tank Bigsby, you can make the argument that he'd be the best, most talented running back on the Kansas City Chiefs, the most explosive running back on the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Eagles went out and got him, not Brett Veach, not the Kansas City Chiefs, trading a 3rd-round pick for Jalen Phillips, who I think is a damn good pass rusher. Like, the Chiefs should have been in on that. But Brett Veach just doesn't make that type of move, especially in season. Howie Roseman is the type that if he sees a need, he's going to attack. Brett Veach will only react after it becomes so big of a problem that you can't ignore it. But then he'll forget about the other positions. Like the huge conversation this past offseason was left tackle, left tackle, left tackle. Chiefs need to figure it out. Okay, cool. Brett Veach gets credit for figuring out left tackle. I'll give him that. But they did almost nothing to improve one of the worst running back rooms from last season. And the defensive line got a couple of rookie draft picks, but like I mentioned it after the Bills game, Joey Bosa would have been a guy I would have loved if the Chiefs brought him in just to raise the ceiling of that room. Because Joey Bosa killed the Chiefs on Sunday. And it would be nice if we had a guy like that, a low cost, high reward free agent defensive end that actually, like I said, raises the ceiling. He's productive. And when he's healthy, he's going to give you high level play. Can't really say that about Mike Dana or Charles Omenihu. Pre-torn ACL you could have, but like there was always the possibility that Charles Omenihu after the torn ACL wasn't going to be the same. And we're seeing that now. He's one of the worst edge rushers in all of the NFL. And I just think this front office, this team, the way they approach things, they're just way too comfortable. Like I said earlier, and like Carrington Harrison pointed out, they choose comfortability and familiarity more often than not over an upgrade because they're too stubborn. They're too stuck in their own ways. And this trade deadline is a massive disappointment how the Chiefs did not go out and at least try to get someone, a body somewhere that either raises the floor or the ceiling of one of those position groups, the defensive line and the running back room. And I just really fear for the rest of the season because you're already 5-4. You might have to run the table after the bye week if you still care about any sort of home field advantage or winning the division. I still think the Chiefs will probably make the playoffs, but look, when you get to January, you got to be able to get after the quarterback. You got to be able to run the ball when the games start getting colder outside. And I just don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to do that. I don't think the answers are on this roster. I don't think Chris Jones is getting better as he gets older. I don't think Ashton Gelati is saving the pass rush this season. But you're going to see all these puff pieces come out over the next couple of weeks about how the Chiefs think Brashard Smith and Ashton Gelati will continue to improve and fix those problems. No, they won't. That's a stupid plan. Sorry. And in my opinion, Patrick Mahomes is once again going to have to drag yet another undeserving roster to the Super Bowl. And we'll just have to hope and pray that they're not completely overmatched by the opponent. And hopefully they don't drop all their guys back in coverage and rush 4 and give the Chiefs all kinds of problems, just like everyone else has done to this point. So that's my take on the Kansas City Chiefs trade deadline and how they've done nothing. I definitely want to hear from you guys. It was a crazy trade deadline. I think this was tied for the most trades that have happened at an NFL trade deadline. I could be wrong. It might be the most action we've ever seen, but some big names got moved around today. I mean, the Quinnen Williams move was, my God, Jerry Jones came out and said he's going to make some moves. He definitely delivered on that promise. So that was interesting, but definitely let me know your guys' thoughts down below, whether you agree with me, disagree with me or not. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Check out the work on showmefootball.com. Follow my Twitter at showmefb. Last but not least, also make sure you check out the members program. Just rolled it out. The rant video that I put out yesterday, if that's the kind of content you like, that's the kind of stuff I'm going to be rolling out for my members only section. And if you're interested in becoming a member, definitely go ahead and do that. Only costs $1.99 a month. It's a way to say thank you while I provide you guys with more perks, more personal access to me, members only Q&A. It's going to be a lot of fun. Definitely check it out. But with all that being said, make sure you look down in the description below for all that stuff. Check out all of our sponsors. That's all I got for this one. I'll see you all in the next one. And as always, go Chiefs.